want to start off with my favorite quote. One of my favorite quotes by Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. This quote encapsulates in a lot of ways my perspective on life and on overcoming challenges and the role that our mind can play in overcoming those challenges. In the classroom, I was viewed as learning disabled because of an auditory disability that I had that made it very hard for me to hear things in real time. And it took until 9th grade for a teacher I was being, in my normal cheeky fashion, I was taking an untimed test. And she's like, why aren't you taking your test? I said, well, it's untimed. If it's untimed, I have the rest of my life to finish it, right? So what's the rest? And she got a kick out of that comment. She's like, no one else has ever said that. And she's like, she asked to see me after class. And she's like, I see you, why are you still here? And in my head, it went from like, why am I still here? To like, yeah, why am I still here? This is what I've just desperately wanted, just to be empowered in that one way, right? And whole world opened up to me. I was like, wow, I can do things. I love learning. I realized I loved learning. I remember thinking to myself, I gotta figure out a way of, in my life and in my career, of just telling people that you can do it if you just get in an environment where there are high expectations for you. And I've been studying this work scientifically for the past 20 years or so. So this is also one of my favorite quotes of all time, up there with Carl Jung. It's from the esteemed Elizabeth R. Koch. We each live in our own perception box, a box whose walls are invisible and unbreakable. These walls or constraints become the filter through which we interpret everyone and everything. This couldn't have set up my talk any better, because I think that there are lots of ways in which we get trapped in our own minds. There are lots of terrible things that do happen to us. But the more that we get into this mindset of, I'm the victim of the world, I'm uniquely the victim of the world. Me and only me is getting all of these horrible things happening and everyone else has it great. The more it's actually a trap. It gets us trapped more and more. We get deeper and deeper into that mindset that makes it harder for us to escape even when we have the opportunity to escape. These are some items that give you a sense of what I mean by a victim mindset. I tend to blame my problems on external circumstances. I rarely give people the benefit of the doubt if they seem mean to me. I tend to take things personally. I believe I don't have to take responsibility for my actions or reactions because of past trauma. When people who are close to me feel hurt by my actions, it is very important for me to clarify that justice is on my side. It is important to me that people who hurt me acknowledge that an injustice has been done to me. I can't stop ruminating about my past victimization. I often fixate on how to enact revenge, and I rarely think, and this is probably the most important part of it all, I rarely think about solutions or ways of moving forward with my life with hope and purpose, because I'm so focused on the victimhood aspect of it. But the point is that we all can fall prey to this mindset. This is the point of my talk today. My point to talk today is we all have empowerment within us because we have the power to take responsibility, and we also can change our mindset about what is actually going on in our environment. And so my empowerment mindset is yes and. And what yes and in improv is, it's you take whatever the person says to you and you say, yes, and let's do this, or whatever. So what are the items in the empowerment mindset? Yeah, something challenging happening has affected me, and it doesn't define me. I have deep reservoirs of resilience within me and can handle. Do you see what I'm doing here? The last thing I want to do is stand up here and demote anyone's real lived experiences. The last thing I'm trying to do here is say your experiences don't matter or that things didn't happen to you that were challenging. What I'm doing here is I'm yes-ending that in an empowering way. I have deep reservoirs of resilience within me and can handle difficult situations. My reactions are within my control. I am aware that I am not the only person on this planet who has suffered or who is suffering. I am not a victim to my feelings. See, so many things in life, we can become a victim to our own selves. It's not just you're a victim to the external circumstances, but you can actually be a victim to your own feelings. 6, there's a lot of wisdom I can learn from my adverse life experiences to become a better human being. 7, I can develop strengths because of my adversity. 8, I don't expect everyone to walk on eggshells or open doors for me just because of the adversity I've experienced. 9, I don't want to be reduced to the worst thing that has happened to me. Instead, I'd like to be seen as a whole person that includes my strengths as well as what has happened to me. What I think we're seeing a lot in our society today is that people are reducing people to the worst thing that has happened to them, and people are reducing themselves to the worst thing that has happened to them. And 10, I strive for empathy and understanding of others who are suffering, but who may seem very different from me. This empowerment mindset scale is like almost the exact opposite in correlation to the victim mindset scale. And it will empower you so much more if you can adopt this way of thinking. A big part of overcoming a victim mindset, if you're like, Scott, how do I overcome a victim mindset? A big part of that, I'd be like, good question. And then I'd be like, a big part of that is seeing life through the lens of gratefulness. Okay, I have a friend, a very dear friend. Her name's Christy Nelson. She wrote this book called Wake Up Grateful. I get no royalties for promoting this book, but this book changed my life. She was suffering with stage 4 cancer, and she writes in this book how she decided, she's like, you know what? Whatever time I have left on this planet, no matter how much I'm suffering right now, I'm going to extract every little bit of juice, of goodness from this world that I can. And she said, with gratefulness, it's an orientation toward life. It's like even at times when your body is struggling, it's recognizing that there's so much that your body is doing exquisitively. In that way, gratefulness transcends your immediate circumstance. I really love this perspective. There's some really great benefits of gratefulness as well as gratitude. Better physical and mental health, better sleep, stronger relationships, stronger faith and spirituality, less materialism, more humility. And here's an interesting thing. If you see life, if your perception box lens is through the lens of gratefulness, you actually, those people report being more lucky in life. And that's interesting when you think of the term lucky, right? You don't think of that as something that like you create your luck, right? You're like, oh, it's something that happened to me. But Richard Wiseman has done a lot of research on this and found, quote, over the years, I interviewed these volunteers and asked them to complete diaries, questionnaires, and intelligence tests, and invited them to participate in experiments. The findings revealed that although unlucky people demonstrate almost no insight into the real causes of their good and bad luck, their own thoughts and behaviors are actually responsible for much of their fortune. He has found that lucky people generate their own good fortune through 4 basic methods. 1, creating and noticing chance opportunities, listening to their intuition, having positive expectations, and also their more resilient attitude means that when bad things happen, lucky people are able to make lemonade by finding the good. So resiliency really is the ability to grow and thrive in the face of challenges, and your capacity for that is not fixed. It is partly under your control, just like every other psychological trait is partly under your control. Research by George Bonanno at Columbia University has found that most of us actually are resilient after a traumatic or a very adverse, they would call it an adverse event. In fact, he decides to call all events potentially traumatic experiences. He's trying to argue that the field needs to move away from calling things objectively traumatic experiences, because what you're doing in a lot of ways is the therapist is basically telling you should be traumatized, and some people are not actually traumatized by the same things, right? And so we should actually let the client or the patient tell us where they're at in their journey. So he's been trying to redefine that a lot in light of the fact that most people are resilient. And not only are most people resilient, but about 25% of people show post-traumatic growth. So we need to give that memo to people that post-traumatic growth is possible. It's possible to have had a terrible thing happen to you and to learn something from it and grow from it and increase your connections and creativity. Do you remember how the people who score high in the victim mindset tend to go into every interaction with a kind of negative expectation? So people who are resilient go in with a positive expectation, and they tend to have an internal locus of control. They see themselves as the authors of their own life. So all of us, I think, can resonate with the urge or the drive to play the victim a little bit. But recognize that there are parts of you that aren't broken. Okay? How can you find the light within yourself? Where you put your attention is really where you put your life. If there are aspects where you find yourself in this victim mindset, or you had something bad happen to you and you focus on your traumas so much to the exclusion of not realizing you have a future, take a pause and recognize, wow, I forgot, there are parts of me that aren't broken. There are lots of parts of me that are alive, unique, creative, and are just yearning to be self-actualized. And just sometimes that refocus can completely transform your life. And finally, if none of these other things work, if you're like, I can't find any light within myself, my beautiful monsters have taken over. Let's see, I'm trying to go down the list and say all these things are not working. What do I do, Scott? Well, the research shows that one of the best antidotes to depression and anxiety is getting outside of yourself. Like, go empower others. Okay, I have a coaching practice. I developed something called self-actualization coaching. If I'm having a bad day, I know that just one session where I empower someone else, at the end of that session, not only will that person feel more empowered, but I'm in such a good mood. Like, I didn't do anything about the me part, right? But I'm left in such a good mood because I helped empower someone, and I'm also able to see, by doing that, you're able to see just how much we can empower ourselves when we empower others. So thank you so much for letting me give this talk.